Hi, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to Toolkit Tuesday. Super excited to have everybody here today. I'm Lynn Edwards. I'm the owner of Proper Planning, a full service event planning company in Seattle, and I'm the founder of Toolkit. At the start of this year, we created Toolkit to make that a place for event planners to gather, to share great content, best tips, best ideas. But we didn't want to forget our fabulous hotel partners. So today's Toolkit Tuesday is focused on toolkits for hoteliers. And I've brought one of my amazing colleagues, longtime friend and a industry rock star, Mr. Steve Steinhart, to join us today. And I want to thank Marin with Smart Meetings for their partnership to help us get the word out to hoteliers. And have you all join us today. Quick update, we've muted everybody, and we want to make sure that we're able to use the chat feature. So if you've got questions throughout the programming, please post those there in the chat box, and at the end of the program we will open and unmute everybody for questions and answers and just have a bit of sharing. So let's go ahead and get started. Steve, good morning from Marin County. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm fine. I'm actually in San Mateo County today in Menlo Park, California.
Safe at home, I assume.
Safe at home.
Nice. And hope everybody else is safe at home today. And we're looking forward to sharing some great content and giving some people some great ideas as they are safe at home. Steve Steinhart is a CHSE and a CHME. He's been in the business a long time. He was lead of for the Hyatt Hotels for many years in their sales and marketing effort. And I've had the opportunity to sit in on Steve's trainings when I was a hotelier. I started my career 30 years ago as a hotelier. So I feel like I'm with my peeps today. This is amazing. Glad to see all these hoteliers. And then I've been an event planner for 20 years. So again, the hoteliers are the backbone of what we do as planners, and it's a critical partnership. So Steve, just thank you again for joining us. Have you ever seen anything like this that we're enduring right now?
Of course not. This is absolutely unprecedented. Nothing like this has ever occurred. And to try and compare it to any past event, there are some similarities, I suppose, but we're in uncharted waters. And our goal today, I think, has to be two things. If you're working and your hotel is open, I'm going to share some best practices. I've spent a lot of the last 2 weeks talking to the people that are open, operating, and running, and I'm going to share some of their ideas with you, with their permission. And we're also going to spend time, the second half of today, talking to the hotel sales folks that are furloughed, and what can we be doing with this time? What can constructively come as a result of this? So the answer is no. There's no plan for the next 90 days other than what people are doing. And so I hope that I can share some of those ideas with you, and we can glean from those.
Absolutely. And I find it as the planning side, it's an hourly by hourly situation. Our nature is to plan, and this is it's a challenge that you're not even sure from day to day. I had a call this morning with a client looking at an October event, and we were still uncertain. So it's really interesting. But tell us a little bit about some of the things that you're seeing in innovation and how people are coping with this.
Lynn, thank you. And by the way, everyone, thanks so much for joining. This is an honor that you are all here, and I hope to make this next hour worth your while. So I want to break this question into two questions. Question number one is obviously, what are we doing from an old school standpoint, a traditional hospitality sales standpoint? And then I'd like, Lynn and I will share some ideas on what we can do from a new school, because you need to throw away the marketing plan right now. The marketing plan became antiquated March 10th. So let me talk about old school first, and then we'll talk about new school. First, most experienced, and I think that's who we're basically talking to, are fairly experienced hospitality hotel sales managers. Their plan short term is picking up the phone and calling their customers. They're calling their tentative customers. They're calling their definite customers. Let me be really clear about this. This is not the time for a blitz. This is not the time to be calling customers that you don't know very well. This is that they don't have answers for you. And candidly, and Lynn will speak to this in just a moment, they don't have anything to say to you, and they'll be offended by it. I spoke to my good friend, Kevin Owens with Visit Dallas, the Dallas Convention and Visitors Bureau, and his plan was to call every tentative piece of business first asking, how are you? How are you doing? How is your family? How are you coping with all this? And very secondarily, he said, this is what we still have on the books. This is what our plan is. And Kevin went into great detail with tremendous preparation and a real plan. We'll talk about that a little bit later on too, Lynn. You know, this is what we're doing to make sure your meeting is safe. This is what we're doing to create social distancing in meeting rooms. This is what we're doing to make sure our guest rooms are clean and healthy and safe. This is what we're doing. Now, neither you or I know if you're going to keep that meeting in July, August, or September, but I just want to talk to you about what we're doing. I want to give you some information that you can give to your team so that you can, when the time comes, make a decision whether you want to keep the event or not keep the event. Kevin is also calling all of his customers that have definite business on the books up and through Q1 of 2021. Now, each hotel's business cycle obviously is going to be different. In Dallas, they have business on the books through 23, 24, 25. There's no reason to call those people. They don't know. But up until about Q1 of 2021, Kevin is calling his people, and again, he has relationships with these people. Kevin is one of the reasons they selected Dallas. And so he is starting his conversations by, how are you? How do you feel? Are you safe? Do you have enough food? Isn't this wild? What are you thinking? And then he says, if you want to, let's talk about what we're doing right now to make sure our meetings and events are safe. And this is what we're doing. And he has a very specific checklist of items. Whether the event happens or not, neither the meeting planner, nor the hotel, nor the Convention and Visitors Bureau has any control over. What Kevin is doing is providing comfort. He's providing information. It's authentic, it's sincere, and it's honest. Let me say one thing for sure. If you talk to any customers right now, you better make sure you're being honest and authentic. Otherwise, it will ruin your relationship forever. So when it comes to the old school, interesting numbers. When I spoke to Kevin about his conferences coming to Dallas, Kevin is an expert in the Smurf world. He's like perhaps the top Smurf sales manager, maybe in the United States. He said that his corporate meetings beyond July are staying on the books. He said that his association meetings are staying on the books, at least for now. He's having conversations with each of them. To cancel would be premature. But he says really interesting, and again, Lynn and I will talk about lots of data today. None of it is empirical. This is just input we're getting from customers. There's no statistical evidence to support anything that's happening in our industry today. But Kevin said, really interesting, his religious groups are showing an accelerated registration pace. In other words, the religious conferences are showing more early registration than he's ever seen before, almost by as much as 17%. Now, what that means, I don't know. Do people want to be with their people in a safe, comfortable environment? Are they hoping that they'll get some answers if they meet at the conference? Again, I don't want to make that empirical data. It's simply a side note.
Well, you know, it's interesting, Steve.
Go ahead.
When you talk about, you know, registration pace and stuff, it's really interesting as planners, as you think through how this, if and when this ramps back up, when it ramps back up, it'll be interesting. I think it's currently reinforcing the value of live events. I think people are going to be ready to convene and gather and share and have face-to-face interaction and allow sponsors and trade show folks to generate leads. But what's interesting is the flip side around the perception of is it still safe to travel even though we're all systems go? Will people want to show up real-time live, or will they be looking for a virtual option? So, well,
and certainly we're going to talk about virtual options to our audience out there because that's big. But I don't know. I have to go to Los Angeles today, and I've chosen to drive, even though I'd probably be the only person on the plane going from San Francisco to Los Angeles. But anyway, so I think number one, old school, pick up the phone when you have a relationship with a client. Now is not the time to blitz. Now is not the time to call clients you don't know terribly well. It would be presumptuous. It would be invasive. It would not be good. I want to share something that one of our favorite general managers is doing right now. And I want to start talking about actual techniques as opposed to, old school sales. Our good friend, Daryl Strayer, is the managing director of the Historic Inns of Annapolis. And he's in a fortunate situation. He's got 4 different buildings. And what he has done, and we're going to show you a video clip, they're open and they're fully operational. He has contacted his local news stations and said, my hotel is open. Do you think you would like to send a film crew out here and let me tell you that our hotel is open? This is genius. This is gold. Yeah. He's actually getting the local news channel, who is dying for some positive news, particularly news supporting the community, that is saying we're open, things are normal, we've got all kinds of options available for you. And so if you haven't contacted if you're open and you haven't contacted your local news stations, maybe this won't work in New York City, and maybe this won't work in Chicago. But if you're in a secondary, tertiary city, your news crew's probably been at your hotel 100 times, and they would love to give good news. Maybe Lynn, could we show that clip real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me roll this.
This is my good friend Daryl Strayer, the Historic Inns of Annapolis. Yeah, Lynn, we can't hear the sound.
Okay, stand by.
Maybe we start that over and from the top.
Yep.
Yeah, no sound yet.
Stand by.
So we can see the video, but we can't hear it.
Okay. Let me.
Trust me, guys, this ran very smoothly in rehearsal yesterday.
Yeah, of course, like all things. Any sound?
No.
Shoot. I have an issue with the sound, so we'll watch the news clip.
Yeah, what Daryl has done is the actual newscaster is saying, we're here live at the Historic Hotels of America, where the hotel is open. And we're going to talk to General Manager Daryl Strayer, and there he is. And Daryl goes into great detail. We're open, we're safe. We have several plans available for meetings. We have plans available for video conferencing. We have plans available for office space. It's absolutely genius. I'm so sorry the sound isn't working on this, but
I'll post the link, Steve, I'll post the link in the chat box.
Okay, that'd be great. I really recommend each of you go back and look at this. And again, my apologies for the sound not working. That was too bad. But that is genius that he's got his local news channel coming out. By the way, local news channels are dying for news right now. They jumped at the prospect of coming out and telling a story about one of the employers of the community that's helped keeping people employed and keeping revenue and transient occupancy tax coming in. So that is a great idea. And again, my apologies, the sound didn't work. We can post that in the chat box or a link later on.
Yep, I've posted that in the chat box. Yep.
I'm sorry.
So I think that's an amazing way to continue to think about innovative ways to support the situation as well as advance the brand awareness of the hotel and the good of the greater good as a hotelier. I think I've seen a lot of posts and emails from different hotel brands saying, here's some hospitality. They've sent recipes for meals. They've sent comfort ideas for self-care. We are, at the end of the day, we are in the hospitality business, and some of these hoteliers are exercising that and being kind of out front and center as a hospitality professional.
Right. The other thing, this is obvious, and so I want to reinforce this if you've already done it, but if you're still open, you should be reaching out to your local city governments. Where are there city workers that have to commute? Where are they staying? Fire has a place to stay. Police, you have a lot of police officers that can't afford to live in your communities, and so they have to commute in? Are you offering hotel rooms for police? Are you offering hotel rooms for city engineers? Are you offering hotel rooms for any city employee that has to commute in? Have you contacted your National Guard? That's a frightening thought. But, you know, when we have a mudslide, we contact the highway department. When we have a wildfire, we contact the Department of Fire Services. And this is no different. The question is, as a salesperson, are these people on your list? Are you calling them? Do you have a message? And we'll get to that message in just a moment. You're not just calling to say, hey, if you need rooms, we have them. It has to be a much more profound message than that. We have a greater responsibility to explain what that means if we're open. And trust me, we'll get to that in about 10 minutes. So are you contacting the sources of business right now? Are you talking to the phone companies? You know, we're putting an awful lot of pressure on the bandwidth of our internet right now. And I'm sure I'm not the only guy that's had my internet go down in the last week more than once. and so, you know, do we have those people so that if they need a place to stay, we've made our properties available? So those are some of the things we're seeing that are working right now quite well.
Excellent.
And one then, of the other,
I was going to say, what other, I've seen some other creative stuff. I know you've shared with me, just becoming a resource. You know, there's something about the hotel transactional mindset that I think needs to shift into this resource. Again, a resource for meeting planners to tell us what you're doing in your hotels, to keep people safe as they come back to the venues. But what other resources are you seeing, or again, some additional innovation ideas that we can share with our audience today?
Thank you, Lynn. I've actually talked to a number of people, and I'll share several of those that are working. They're working. They're creating revenue for their hotels right now. My favorite was given to us by my wonderful, dear, close personal friend, one of my most respected colleagues in the industry, Lavelle Casiero. Lavelle is the Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing with the PM Hotel Group, and they've got a lot of hotels. And she has initiated a system-wide, for all of her hotels, she's initiated a system-wide program offering workers forced from their home or offices and providing a home office package. And here's the ad. What she's done is she's providing a private hotel room, coffee, soft drinks, Wi-Fi, and video conferencing that we'll get to in just a moment because that's a biggie. But she's charging $50 for all this. Now, a lot of people are now working from home, and in a lot of cases, home is not conducive. There are children in the background, there are pets. Maybe it's simply not a safe, healthy environment. So for $50, she's making her hotel rooms available. Now, she's really clever about it. She's only offering certain hotel rooms that are spaced apart. There's an entrance that's very safe and healthy, and social distancing is intake. Every room is cleaned and steamed after every use. I mean, you can even take a nap. You've got a shower. You've got a bathroom. I mean, a hotel room is a perfect office. So for those of you that are open, do you have some package whereby you're not only making it available to your local community, but you're ensuring it's safe? We don't, you know, I don't know how many maids, room attendants are going into rooms cleaning right now. I've heard some hotels you have to go to the front desk to get sheets. That's a discussion for operations, not sales, and we'll get to that discussion also. But I think kudos to Lavelle and PM Hotel Group for putting this out there. This is genius. And I want to talk more in a minute about the video conferencing, because that's really where Lynn and I are going with the whole deal.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, being an event planner who lives in hotels, it is ideal. We conduct a lot of planning business in a hotel room, great Wi-Fi, and, you know, again, all the amenities that you would need. And I'm sure some of these stay-at-home parents would love to have a place where they could really lock in if they have an important conference call or something.
Right. Yeah. Many thanks, Lavelle. Thank you for letting us share that.
Yep. Let's jump into how hoteliers can create and maintain client relationships right now.
Jumping ahead, when I was talking to my good friend Stephanie Wilkes, Stephanie has good friend, great colleague. By the way, she's with Pacific Hospitality. She is, obviously, they had to reduce staff at the hotel level, so she's driving from a very high altitude right now. Stephanie is monitoring both transient occupancy and group occupancy for all of her hotels. And there are many hotels. And let me break this into two categories: transient occupancy for hotels that are still open, and group hotels that are still operating. She noticed on Friday of last week, again, this is not empirical data. This is simply an observation from one colleague. She showed for the first time her hotel as a company showed a positive reservations number. That is to say that
Yay!
they were taking, yay. They were taking more reservations than they were canceling. And when I asked her about details on this, she said it was almost all corporate midweek business, and it was all beginning to arrive next week. So the first full week of April, I think tomorrow is April 1st, so the following week. There's no data on this. Is it flying in? Is it driving in? I think we could all safely assume they're driving in, not flying in. I don't think TSA numbers are perking up quite yet, but whether you're showing a positive number or a negative number, the point is, are you open? And do you have answers for people that are calling? Have you changed your online reservations messaging? Have you changed the optics to let people know if they do need a room, it's safe? And what are you doing? What are the provisions and measures and steps you've taken? What is the cleanliness? What's safety? I don't want to come to your hotel and get the virus. I want to come to your hotel to get away from the virus. So
Right.
I think you really have to be authentic in that. So are you monitoring transient? Are you messaging properly? Some of you are responsible for that. Some of you aren't, but you certainly have input. And let's be honest, who knows more about this than us? The people we're talking to right now, candidly, you have a great relationship with your res people, your managing director, your general manager, your front office manager, rooms manager. You know, we need to be able to provide solid input right now on what our messaging should be. The second topic is the group. And when speaking with Stephanie, she too, just like Kevin, is calling all of her good customers. Now, she's only calling her good customers. She's not blitzing. If she were to call a customer she doesn't know very well, the customer doesn't have any information. They don't know when they're ready to start booking again. But what Stephanie did was she called 3 of her good customers, and each one of the 3, obviously she called more than 3, said, Stephanie, we're going to try and put something on the books for July. We think by July we're going to be able to put something on the books. So please send me a tentative proposal for July. She sent out 3 proposals for July last Friday. Stephanie's message is, are you there? Are you talking to your customers? Are you available if they need something? I mean, Cvent, no offense, is going off the hook right now. If you're not still catching your leads, you're making an enormous mistake whether you're open or not. That's obviously a different topic. But Cvent leads are going through the roof right now. We're seeing numbers on Cvent come through to hotels. Meeting planners, and Lynn will speak to this in great detail, being one of the really big meeting planners. Stephanie's point is, if she hadn't called her good customers, there's a possibility they might have called another hotel. And Stephanie's real point is, pump out those tentatives. Get those tentatives going out. If you don't send out a tentative, it can't turn definite. Now, maybe they happen in July. Maybe the meeting doesn't happen in July. But be Stephanie for a moment. At least she's got a conversation going with her customers. At least she's got a conversation about something other than the meeting in July. And who knows, the meetings in July may in fact cancel. But if they cancel, they'll probably postpone. We're gonna reach a safe harbor at some point, folks. And they'll just move the meetings to when the government is saying it's now safe to have the meeting. So Stephanie is staying involved in the relationship. So both from a transient standpoint and from a group standpoint. So by re-engaging, again, this isn't empirical data, but a minimum, you're calling your customers and asking them how they're doing.
Yeah, I think as a planner, Steve, what I would share, I talked to a hotelier the other day. They did an inbound call to me. I have no relationship with them. I've never put a piece of business there. And she told me we've been directed to continue to try to book future business, which again, I found it insensitive and just a lack of awareness around. I don't know if I have. First of all, I don't really know you. I know if I need you, I'll reach out. But also, I don't know if I have business for you. So this kind of high pressure, like you say, blitz call, it really has to be level set with your relationships with those hoteliers. But to reach out from the planet, the hoteliers that I know well, I appreciate it. They're checking on what's going on. They're trying to get their finger on the pulse of when we might be able to engage in a conversation about a future booking.
Right. Lynn, I think the biggest thing, and you'll be able to talk to this quite well, is as we toss the old marketing plan away and we look at the new marketing plan, one of the successful programs that we're seeing hotels offer is the enemy has always been video conferencing, and
Yes.
guess what? It's our ally now. And so I want to really spend a moment. I know Lynn's going to share some personal examples, as well as an enormous conference that she had to switch from live to virtual. Every hotel is set up perfectly to become a broadcast studio. Now you say to yourself, you know, gosh, don't meeting planners and corporations and local offices have all their own video conferencing available and virtual meetings? Yeah, but they can't get to them. And, you know, that stuff is in the office. And, you know, if you don't really understand how that works, you've got somebody in the office that shows you how that works, and you sit down and try and figure it out yourself. It's easy, but it's not if you don't understand it. So we need to suddenly become experts, whether you're using GoToMeetings or Zoom or Amazon Chime or Gopher.com. There's dozens and dozens of ways that we can broadcast, but you need to message out to your customers that your meeting space has now turned into a production studio, and they don't have to do anything. They just come in. And you've got expertise on property to help them determine how to send the invitations out, how to set up the link to get to it, what format to use. We can do backgrounds of any kind. We've got makeup, we've got bathrooms, we've got coffee. You know, can we be a resource? And that's the key. Can we be a resource to help our customers solve problems? They don't know how to do this. And I'm not sure salespeople in general know how to do it. But man, we've got audiovisual companies that certainly do. So do you have a package in place? Can you prove that it's safe? Can you prove that it's healthy? Can you make sure that they understand they don't have to do anything except show up? Lynn, talk about this for us from a meeting planner standpoint for a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when video conferencing came, I mean, I've been doing this a long time, 30 years, not my natural hair color, a long time. So when video conferencing came on, everybody said, oh no, people will not meet in person anymore. They won't get on a plane, they'll save money, they'll just video chat. Well, we all know that that didn't change our world completely. What's interesting, and as a planner, I would plan live events for several thousand people, and we would have a virtual ticket. You know, we wouldn't want to sell that early because we didn't want to cannibalize the people in the ballroom. We wanted to fill the space first, and we'd ordered X amount of chicken. We had our food and beverage minimum, and you know, we kind of, it was a secondary thing to offer a virtual ticket and a way for people to join our events. Well, now we're being completely forced to do it all virtual. And I think what's interesting, what you said, is we are having to learn these tools. Just now when the sound wasn't working, I was looking for an evil stare over to my tech table to figure out why the sound wasn't working. And I realized the tech table is me. So it's really, you know, we're having to flex our technical abilities here. I had a large 800-person state association that made a decision to go from completely live event to 100% virtual in 3 days. We had 3 days for our planning team to stand up a large conference, 24 plus breakout sessions, you know, general sessions. It was an ultimate spin to try to, one, communicate the change, to train up the speakers and moderators to get ready to present virtually, to our sponsors to talk about how we were going to be able to deliver value for them now that we were completely virtual. And then the execution. You know, we had a war room with our planners sitting in there talking to each other about, just like this, hey, I'm playing a video and there's no sound. And we were crowdsourcing all of our planning team to figure it out and troubleshoot things. So I think it's important to remember that as we move forward, I believe we will incorporate these tools more into our events, even once we're back online. Because I think what happens is when you're forced to use a tool, you get more comfortable and more aware of how to manage it. And then moving forward, I think there'll be these interesting hybrid events where we have a live event, but we then also have this incredible virtual experience for attendees as well. So it's
Lynn,
not going, it's not going anywhere. It's going to be around for a while.
I think the message here is each hotel that's open should convert 2 or 3 of your meeting rooms to become broadcast studios, and
Yes,
establish
absolutely.
a relationship with any of the dozens of virtual meeting providers. Be in complete harmony with your local audiovisual company. You think they don't want the business?
Right.
And every one of you should be available to offer teleconferences, video conferencing, web conferencing, and assure your users that you have the expertise to produce any kind of communication that they require in a clean, safe, healthy environment.
Well, and I got a call from one of our convention centers here in the Northwest, and they said that they had stood up a virtual studio and they invited us to come and test it with the Toolkit Tuesday. So last week, if you go to YouTube and search Toolkit Tuesday, last week we broadcast this series from the virtual studio. And it was so great for me as a planner to experience it. They had a couple $100,000 worth of cameras, and all of their technicians were in a separate room, so they were safe, and they went over all those safety features. But the production value of being in a live studio versus, watching a hairy husband walk back and forth in somebody's screen, it was night and day. And I think if you're producing shows, you have to consider the guest experience always number one, and that goes to production value and how you can amp that up a little bit around using these virtual studios. So if anybody has any question about virtual studios, check out our video, and I'm happy to answer questions directly after that as well. But it was a great move, great partnership. Appreciated the convention center letting me know it was there. I really appreciated the AV team letting us take a test drive so we could better sell it to our clients.
That's a biggie. I think that's something we don't run from, we embrace very quickly.
Well, and the interesting thing about, the speakers that we have is, again, they're having to be trained up on a new platform. They're great to come off, stage right and present this great thing live. But when you're being asked to present virtually, there's some nuances around that. And then if you put them in a studio, that's a new experience for them. There was no one in the room but a camera guy and I, and 3 cameras lighting up. And, it's a different kind of event. And so the training that goes into your speakers is critical around that, and testing everything. So tell us, Steve, the next thing we're going to talk about using this downtime to improve your product and taking advantage of some of this downtime.
Unfortunately, as hospitality salespeople, it's not always in our hands. So let me talk about the things that hopefully management is doing, and then the things that we can be doing. We've seen a number of hotels that recognize that their occupancy, and I'm talking about open as well as now furloughed hotels, they're accelerating their capital expenditure programs. The capital has probably already been approved. The loan has already been approved. It's not sure what the story is on the timeline to pay it back now, but we're seeing hotels that were going to take 20 rooms out at a time now take 50 rooms out at a time. We're seeing people that realize the ballroom is not really going to get used very frequently, and so they're replacing the carpet. We're seeing people right now take the opportunity, because the restaurants are closed. What they're doing is they're recovering chairs that were on their last leg. There are a lot of workers out there that you can send your stuff to or are happy to come in, but that's really a discussion with management and ownership. One of the things that I love about what we can be doing with this time, aside from education, which we'll talk about in just a moment, is, have you gone in and reset your meeting space? Have you taken a look at how you can actually set a room, classroom or theater style, to provide safe and comfortable social distancing? Have you really reset the room so that if 2 people enter the room at the same time, they're not 6 inches away from each other? What assurances are you giving people when you're telling the story, hey, we're open, we've got meeting space, but you're not explaining the safety features and what you've done and sending photographs to show this is what our new classroom looks like? Let's be honest. Let's be honest. A flow for a cocktail reception for 200 is probably not happening for a couple more months.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we can be doing to take advantage of improving the products. Do you need more money for a revised program? if you don't have an audiovisual company that can provide video conferencing, you better find out. You know, your GM's not going to do it. Your rooms exec is not going to do it. Lord knows your engineer is not going to do it. This is on us. And so we have to pick up the phone and we have to do the homework and research. And if we really wanted to create 2 studios, how much would it cost? How much do you think we should make? Let's be honest. We've said this a million times in our live sessions. If you go to a GM wanting something, their job is to say no. Until we can demonstrate how what we need to spend will make money, they're not interested. So those are the types of things I think we can do to improve our product. It's not always for salespeople getting a new computer. It's not always getting new banquet tables. You know, how are you taking a look at changing your pricing? Let's be honest. Your pricing is going to change. Your pricing is going to have to change. Your RevPAR is probably going to be different, and I'm just not sure how important that measuring device is right now. What travel are you going to want to do when things get back on? Are you rewriting your marketing plan? Are you rewriting your action plans for the next 30, 60, 90 days? Have you been clear on how much money you're going to need in order to enact your action plan? You better make sure every customer you call from this moment on for the next 90 days is a custom designed call that is practiced and rehearsed, that speaks specifically to the client's needs and has nothing generic. If you're talking to a group that needs 20 rooms and you're saying you're a 400-room hotel, you've just lost that account because you just said you're going to be one of 10 accounts in the hotel at the same time. That is not what they want to hear. So you better make sure your messaging, your optics, your authenticity, and you can prove that you know, you can actually provide these services. When it comes to convention and visitors bureaus, your job is even tougher because you can't always speak for the hotels. So you need to have very thorough discussions with your hotel partners when you're talking to your customers. Who's open and what are they doing to provide safe measures? How long are they going to be open? What services are they offering? Let's be honest. A 500-room hotel that a convention center is pushing, I bet your spa is closed. You better be able to explain that. I'll bet your workout room is closed. You better be able to explain that. I'll bet your food service operation is dramatically altered. If I'm just speaking on behalf of my hotel, that's probably reasonably easy information to get. If I'm selling a destination, if I'm a bureau salesperson, you have all my compassion, but you're working double time right now because you're sending a message out on behalf of a destination, and that's more than one building. That's more, what is your convention center doing? What is your food service operator doing? What are you doing to change your setup? What does classroom now look like for you? What does theater style now look like for you? What does staging now look like for you? And above all, what audio visual can you provide in a safe, comfortable environment? So that's,
I
sorry,
think that,
I didn't mean to get off topic
no,
there, but
that's why we love you on your soapbox, Steve. This is why we have you here. I think one thing that's interesting, I was talking to a hotel program around a fall event, and I asked what they had for prepackaged foods. You know, you and I were talking about this yesterday about the day of the buffet might be long gone. People may just not have a comfortable level of wanting to get in there and share tongs and have open-aired food. And so she said to me, we don't have any prepackaged meal options. You know, I would love to see a hotel bring to me information about, hey, Lynn, look at these cool 3 new things that we have for a grab and go lunch, all prepackaged, safety first. Hey, Lynn, did you know we're going to have sanitary wipes in every room? So when you get in there, you'll have that comfortability to be able to, you know, wipe down the remote. You see people doing that now who carry their own wipes, but how great for a hotel to be able to say, we are adding these cool safety features throughout the whole program. So,
you know, Lynn, I wish I could give credit, and so I apologize. I don't know who to give credit to. But we had one sales manager at a local hotel who decided to risk some outside sales calls, and she was dropping off goodie bags with hand sanitizers.
Well,
that's a hard product to come by right now. Somehow she had gotten a hold of them. And I'm telling you what, that beat the M&M candy jar, that's for sure.
Well, it was certainly creative and a safe touch point. Let's jump into, I know you and I have had great discussions around cancellation clauses and what those are going to look like in the new normal. Share a little bit about your thought on that, and I'll share that as the consumer, my thoughts.
Boy, this is an enormous conversation, and I don't want to pretend to be an attorney. I think that we start by saying this needs to be two discussions. What are we doing for groups that have definite cancellation clauses already signed? And what are we doing with contracts going forward? Because those are two separate discussions. It remains to be seen if the force majeure applies in cancellation policies. This is not going to get tested in the courts anytime soon. Can you imagine the backup that exists in your court system right now? They can't sequester a jury. You've got felony cases that candidly they're releasing prisoners because the law states that you have to provide them with a jury of their peers in 60 days, a whole different discussion.
So you're saying my force majeure is not on the top of the pile?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So, and I don't know, is this an act of God or not? I mean, smarter people than me are going to have to figure that out. Many hotel companies have completely waived the cancellation policy in the spirit of being a good neighbor. Many hotel companies have allowed cancellations to occur, but only if they rebook in 2020. And of course, that's something we hope they'll be able to do. And I know you can rebook it, but whether it ends up actually coming into the hotel or not remains to be seen. And we've seen other hotel companies that are holding hard and fast to the cancellation clause. So, Lynn, I'm going to turn this over to you, and then we'll come back and talk about what the cancellation clause can look like for future business.
Absolutely. So I've been in and around all of this on the consumer side, the customer who's trying to, get into that section of the contract and really interpret that. We are finding with a lot of hotel partners that the force majeure it's not covering a pandemic or a communicable diseases. Our event insurances are not covering that. It's certainly, you and I, again, are not attorneys, but I feel like any attorney with their salt could go in and argue that we were unable to perform our part of the contractual duties due to a governmental ban. I mean, we simply could not have held the meeting. So it's got to be a frank and open conversation. I have had the experience with the group that we moved virtual. That hotel partner, we had put a lot of business into that hotel, not just that one meeting for that one state association. And we were able to sit down and negotiate. We had not signed for 2021 yet. We had received a proposal from them, and we said, we understand there's loss of revenue on your side. If we are able to sign the 2021 contract with you, would you consider releasing us from some of this cancellation, obligation? And they were willing to do that. I have another hotel that we have a July event, and my client does not feel like people will come. She has a lot of international attendees, international speakers, and she's highly concerned, and she's staring down the barrel at a $500,000 cancellation clause, and it could potentially bankrupt the organization. So these are real conversations on both sides of the fence, and this goes back to relationships and partnering and having a long-term approach. I shared with you, Steve, that I had an association that had been staying at one hotel, an airport hotel, and they had been there for 20, 30 years, and they had to cancel. This is shortly after, I think, at 2007, 2008. And I had a, face-to-face with the GM, and I said, I've done the math. In the last 20 years, they've spent millions, and I mean millions. I have the data to show it with you. And they've been in business for 80 years. They will be back in business, and they will come back to your hotel, or they won't if you exercise this. So let's look at this decision you're making. $20+ million of business with this client, and you hold their feet to the fire, and they won't be able to pay that. So let's talk about real business impact on both parties and try to come to a fair and equitable decision, rather than try to get in the minutia of a contract and try to find what works. So that's my advice would be to get in partnership with your clients and talk through lost revenue. How do we make this up? What's realistic? How do we maintain your long-standing relationship with you, by doing the right thing here? Those are some tips for me, having just been in the trench with it. But
the second part of that, Lynn, is let's be honest, our cancellation policies are going to need to change for every contract you send out going forward. And it is absolutely going to have to include verbiage on communicable disease, virus, whether it's COVID-19 or whatever. And I don't think the salespeople are going to have to be responsible for that. I think you should be responsible for bringing it up. Obviously, that's going to have to go to ownership, management, legal team, etc. But it will really be important because we are seeing business being booked for July and beyond. And obviously, that needs to be a new sentence or sentences in your contracts going forward. You need to protect the client and you need to protect yourself. And I think you're also going to make it a lot easier for the client to sign if they've got a way out, if in fact this doesn't clear up by the time we're hoping it clears up. And if they have to cancel, there's a high probability, because you were a good guy about it, that they will rebook with you when it's time to rebook. So how are you being a resource? How are you creating a win-win for both yourself and your customer? And so I really recommend sitting down with your general manager, your ownership group, your management team. If you're fortunate enough to be operating with a management company, there's unbelievable legal resources there. But you probably need to really take a look at how your contract or proposal is going to be different going forward, because it needs to be different.
Well, and what's interesting is, I had a client, there's an educational component as a planner, a professional planner. I had a client that was saying, but they haven't ordered the chicken. They haven't paid the staff to be there to clean the rooms. They haven't set the ballroom. We haven't set up the projector. Why would we have this kind of, economic impact on us if we're not actually getting the product that we're using? And then I go into the educational mode, put my hotelier hat on, and say all they have to sell is dates. It's a consumable commodity. When it's gone, it's gone. That lost revenue, they're planning on that to run their business. So you kind of, again, have to get into this understanding the other person's pain so that you can help come up with a solution. And I do think that a lot of clients will be very gun shy about signing huge, minimums and all this stuff. But, things have been good for a long time. These hoteliers have been taking orders and, booking business and living large. I've lived through several curveballs in my career, especially 12 years as a hotelier, 9/11, all kinds of things you had to kind of withstand. And it was, again, relational with a long-term approach versus, book it and cook it. And they'd get in there, and recently nobody was giving anything up. And rightfully so, if their business was being optimized and maximum revenue was coming in. But you may have to take a look at all the things and the way you've done business and how the customer is going to be ready to make that obligation. Not knowing.
I think also, I just got a nice chat from Hi Lavelle, one of my favorite people on the planet. She said the brands are certainly going to address this, and so for you brand hotels, my guess is that paragraph will be in your hands shortly. But there are a lot of us that don't work for brands or independents or local owners. So take it upon yourselves to get that started. I think that's very important. And thanks, Lavelle. Obviously, we're glad the brands are working on it. Smarter people at a higher pay grade than me.
Well, and also a great post from somebody about the wedding business being up, and more than ever, people want to get married, and to not forget weddings in your mix with your new marketing plan. So thank you for sharing that.
Right.
Okay.
Lynn, I just had one note from a good friend, Suzanne Murdoch. Hi, Suzanne. She said while her group and transient is down, her wedding business is going through the roof. And I don't really know how that would work, but she said people want to get married more now than ever. I don't quite know how you would get that many people in a ballroom or a banquet room, and I don't think your county or state would allow for the social distancing. But maybe we're talking, maybe we're not talking about who plans a wedding today for April 15th. Maybe we're talking about April 15th, 2021. So Suzanne, thank you. That's a whole market segment we hadn't even discussed. But again, the point would be, how are you selling that? And what is the social distancing, and how does the food look, and how does that all look? And maybe the assumption is things will be back to normal by then. But I just wanted to give a shout out to Suzanne. That is a great idea we hadn't considered.
Well, and virtual weddings, you never know. Grandparents that want to stay home, again, putting the virtual element and being able to experience it live. I won't run the music since I can't figure out the sound. I'm not for hire for wedding music. So Steve, we have about 10, 15 minutes left. Let's talk specifically about those hoteliers that may have been furloughed, or they're experiencing that complete shutdown, and some things that they can do during this time.
Well, sure. That's the white elephant in the room, to be sure. The bad news is people have been furloughed by the thousands in our industry. These are bright, sharp, articulate people. They've done nothing wrong. Um, um, so the good news is you have time on your hands, and time has always been, when we do our live seminars, as those of you that attended know, one of the most popular is identifying your time robbers. What's preventing you from being even more productive? And guess what we have now? We have more time than we ever thought we were going to have. So the question is, what's your plan? Do you have a personal action plan to improve your skill set? There are dozens and dozens of certification programs that you can get in as few as 3 days. Listen, all of you probably have acquired all of the requirements, all of the compliant issues for any certification out there, and all you need to probably do, you've been to enough training, you can demonstrate hours of training, you can demonstrate hours on the job, you can get recommendations, you can write the paragraphs that they ask you to respond to. What you haven't done is taken the test. And some of the tests are tough and require preparation, and some of them you're just speaking freely because, gosh, it isn't easy to take a test when you know what you're talking about, and most of us know what we're talking about. So, whether you're looking at the professional development program at Cornell, this is not a shout out to Cornell, but Cornell offers a 3-day program called PDP. It's the Professional Development Program. HSMAI offers, a CHME. MPI has several certifications. The National Association of Catering Executives offers a number of certifications. And I think what we'll do, I want to talk about two from a self-interest standpoint in just a moment, Lynn. We're going to send each of you a link that has probably 30 certification programs that I recommend. I'm familiar with all of them. And by the way, if you've ever been to a Steinhart and Associates program in the field, that's worth 24 hours toward your certification. And I think it takes like 40 to 80 hours. And I'm sure we've all been through brand training or management company training, etc. But what's your plan? If you leave the industry because of furlough, are you coming back stronger? Are you coming back with an improved resume? Are you coming back with new skills? Are you making yourselves more valuable? I don't want to be negative, but there's no guarantee that you will be brought back to the same employer. So I hope you are. I would trust you are. I would like to think that's the relationship that we have with our employers. But by the same token, are you coming back bigger and better and brighter and stronger and more certified than ever before? So Lynn is posting a link right now, and that link has, 30 different certification programs out there. There are two I want to talk about. The first one is free. Steinhart and Associates has been doing this a long time. We've got a YouTube channel, and the YouTube channel is nothing more than YouTube Steinhart and Associates. We probably have 50 video clips lifted right out of our live broadcast that range on any topic you can possibly think. They're free. This is totally free. And you can pick any topic you want. Some are 1 minute, some are 10 minutes. You can watch them all at once or binge watch, or you can watch them one at a time, or you can just dance around and pick any subject you want. That's always been our contribution to the community. So you'll notice the YouTube channel link is right on the document that Linda sent out. The second one is, on the Steinhart and Associates website, we have a store, and we have some 20-something different learning modules that are available. We have role-playing exercises. We have case studies written for us by real-life decision-making event, travel, and meeting planners. We have video clips. Lynn is actually on 2 of the video clips. One of the video clips is, why customers book with you, and another of the video clips are why customers have problems booking with certain kinds of salespeople. We have self-evaluation analysis. We have all kinds. Now there's a charge. We've reduced all the pricing in the store to like $10 or $15 a learning module. And I'm sorry we can't make it free, but we have to cover our Shopify, commission there. So that's just a break-even deal. And again, we just want to make training available. And so, here's Lynn's got it right there. It's called the steinhartstore.net, and we've got dozens and dozens of learning modules, everything from negotiating with a hardcore association meeting planner to identifying your strengths and weaknesses to identifying your time robbers to understanding your strengths and weaknesses when compared to your comp set, how to make effective presentations. We've got videos on there. There's a 1-hour video on identifying new accounts and how do you develop a presentation for them. So again, this is just a sample, and I didn't mean it to be an advertisement for us. I'm just saying, don't sit around during this downtime. Be doing your professional push-ups. Be doing your professional chin-ups. Be better when you come back than when you left.
And I want to commend you, Steve, for making this content available at such a reduced rate, given everybody's situation. There is no off season. This is the time to get in the gym and to really be working on yourself, and you're making yourself more valuable. I also, I've spent a lot of time on LinkedIn. That's an amazing resource. You should be cultivating new leads when it's time to reach out. There's time to do that, clean your spring closet and get your sales plan ready to go and come out of the blocks strong. But I think these programs I think you're phenomenal, and having these programs available to people is such a huge value add. So thank you very much. And we'll put that link in the comment box as well.
And let me say, as again, not to be an advocate, my good friend Chris Rattay, who I've known for one of the great guys in the industry, just asked if we'll do virtual training for his team. The answer is, of course. That's exactly what this is. We're practicing what we preach. Of course, we'll provide virtual training. You and I can talk. We can design a custom design menu. We can make a 1 hour. We can do it 2 hours. We can do 2 1-hour sessions. We're here to custom design whatever it is you think your team needs, given these conditions. So thank you, Chris. Yes, of course we can do that.
Well, and thank you, Steve. I would like to just scroll, make sure we catch any questions here. I'm going to go ahead and open it up at this time to unmute everyone. So we'll be able to take questions, or at least I can take a look here and see if we missed anything that we need to be addressing. I know we covered the question. Certainly use your CVVs. There's some good topics here. Another hotel that is doing some amazing offering for people with cabin fever, offering those rooms for a bit of a break. Again, a shower and some quiet. There's some questions about how can leads be captured if many of our hospitality peeps are not there? They're actually being laid off. The planners are still trying to contact them about their cancellation, their postponement, but they're not in the office. Any ideas on that, Steve?
I just say that once more. I'm sorry.
So if people are not in the office because they
Yeah.
obviously are no longer at work,
Right.
if clients are reaching out trying to get a communication with the salesperson about their cancellation or postponement, but they're not at work, so that's a bit of a challenge.
This would be extremely short-sighted to cut off our salespeople, whether you're furloughed or not, from their mailboxes or phones. If you can't see your in mailbox, you don't know what clients are trying to reach you. And what could be more frustrating to a client that doesn't have answers, has a lot of questions, does have business, and no one's getting back to them? That would be ignoring the low-hanging fruit. That would be inexcusable. So, are we having discussions with our managing directors, with our communications team? Are we having our cell phone roll over to, our office number roll over to our cell phone? My experience is, in most of the people I'm talking to, I call their business number. If I don't have their cell phone, it rolls right to their cell phone. For sure, that needs to be in place. And second is, do you have access to your email? Someone needs to be catching the email and distributing it. If it's a CVent lead, what's the difference? If an email is coming in, is there someone there that is distributing that to the correct person, so that correct person can respond in a timely and efficient manner? I can't imagine shutting off a hotel salesperson's email.
Agreed. Someone needs to be on the other end of that. We're seeing notes about use your NSO network when needed to help reach out to hotels. Your GSO can help. So lots of ideas, crowd sharing there. I think we've hit most of the questions. I do want to wrap up quickly. We've just got a minute left, and I want to say thank you to our valued hotel partners for joining us on Toolkit Tuesday. We had a phenomenal crowd, and hope that you all found this helpful and inspiring and encouraging, that this too shall pass and we'll get back in business together. I do want to share that, again, Toolkit was created for event planners, and one idea that we had, my marketing hat on, was that all of these hoteliers, you may want to share with your event planning clients that we will be having a virtual toolkit event end of April. And what a great idea to grab, you know, a couple tickets for that. They're very affordable, and grab a couple tickets and reach out and invite your event planner clients. Say, hey, we've been thinking about you, hope you're doing well, and here's an opportunity for you to learn something new and be connected to other event planners, and take that in. So I've shared that toolkitevent.com, April 28th, a completely virtual event. We're going to be using some best practices on how to conduct a virtual event. And so again, we think it'll be great information for your event planning clients, and we hope you, as a partner of those planners, will choose to join us, visit us, and invite your planners to come. Thank you again. Any closing comments, Steve?
No, I just, good luck to you all. I hope what we've done is put some meat on the bone for you today. And God bless Hotel Strong, and God bless Hospitality Strong, but we need specific, measurable actions that we can take. And that's always been the difference between the great salespeople and the ones that wait around for the phones to ring. So the people that attended today, thank you so much for your trust and confidence. I hope this has been worth your time.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we will post this video on YouTube for future viewing. And good luck to all the hoteliers. We can't do what we do as planners without you. You're valued, you're cared. I know it's a tough time, but hang in there, and hopefully we can continue to bring you some great content. Thanks, Steve, for joining us.
Thank you, Lynn.
Bye, everybody.